Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 491 based on novel. So let's start. 7-Colored Lance. The madman had used this spell before, and Wang Lin even knew the chant and seals for it. However, he hadn't comprehended it, so he couldn't use it. However, he knew the 7-Colored Lance contained the power to destroy the world. It was an extremely powerful spell that didn't belong to this world, like the realm-burning umbrella. Everything before Wang Lin dissipated and the only thing that remained was the 7-colored light. His eyes were filled with despair and the aura of death surrounded his body. Wang Lin understood he couldn't dodge, escape, or resist. This 7-colored lance was the real life and death calamity. In his eyes, those rolling clouds seemed to appear once more. He saw the helpless white bird that tried to escape the dark clouds as the rain fell. That bird clearly appeared before Wang Lin's eyes. It was filled with despair, reluctance, and struggle, but in the end it was still devoured by the dark clouds. That bird was the sign of the life and death calamity. The sky was shrouded in 7-colored light. The lance formed by the 7-colored light got closer and closer. Wang Lin revealed a bitter smile. He understood it was likely he wouldn't survive this calamity. Father, mother. Taizhu is very tired. I'll come and accompany you, okay? The despair in Wang Lin's eyes disappeared and was replaced by relief. He was very tired. He wanted to rest, he wanted to close his eyes, he wanted to live a mortal life. He didn't want to face those life and death struggles. He didn't want to consider all the struggles against fate, he didn't want to drag his parents into it, have to send his parents off and sweep before their grave. He would rather not know anything himself. Not know that there were cultivators on planet Suzaku, that there were other cultivation countries, and that there was the cultivation alliance outside of planet Suzaku. He didn't want to know that the space outside planet Suzaku had countless other planets like planet Suzaku. He didn't want to know that outside planet Suzaku there was the Cultivation Alliance and that the Cultivation Alliance was only in the Brilliant Void. He also didn't want to know that outside the Brilliant Void there was all heaven, the Cloud Sea, and the Summoned River. He didn't want to know that all of this was only the inner realm. He didn't want to know that there was the outer realm outside. As Wang Lin lived on, he faintly realized that there was even more out of that. And more? It's all over. I'm free. I'm sorry. In the end, I didn't gain the strength to awaken you. Pinger, I'm sorry. Your father did his best. Wang Lin felt bitter as he closed his eyes. These were his last thoughts before death as the 7-colored lance closed in on him. As he closed his eyes, the clothes on his chest collapsed and his chest followed. Flesh and blood were ripped apart, and his face was the same. Dust to dust, earth to earth. When the 7-colored lance was only a few hundred feet away, warm images appeared before his eyes. In the yard, his father inhaled from his pipe and spat out smoke before he put the pipe down. There was a small wooden carving of a colt in his hand. His face was filled with a smile. This was his gift for Taizhu's 7th birthday. Wang Lin crouched next to his father with his hands on his chin and his eyes filled with excitement. He watched the little colt take form. In his eyes, his father was omnipotent, his father was the heavens, his father could do anything. Not far away, his mother was holding a pan. While feeding the chickens, ducks, and livestock around her, she would look at the father and son pair with a soft gaze filled with happiness. The image gradually dissipated into countless fragments. These fragments gradually reformed into a secluded valley surrounded by shade. There was a wooden cabin inside the valley. Li Muwen was sitting in front of the house with her hair coiled up like a madam. Her delicate face radiated happiness as she gently looked at the man before her. She had waited for a long, long time for this moment. Now she could silently watch him until the end of eternality. Her gentle hand moved over the ancient zither and gentle tunes played. As the music echoed, Wang Lin held a piece of wood like his father and looked gently at Li Muwen as he carved for her. The two looked at each other. This valley was filled with an unexplainable feeling, and it was unforgettable. This image slowly dissipated, and after it turned to fragments, they reformed once more. He was on a tall mountain. As the winds howled, Wang Lin stood silently at the top of the mountain, filled with sadness and loneliness. He looked ahead and there was melancholy hidden in his eyes. Although it was hidden, it was very strong and leaked out in his shadow. It landed in the eyes of a youth behind him. This youth wore coarse clothes. When he was behind his father, no matter how strong the wind was, the wind that landed on him became gentle. His father was like a mountain that supported his world. With his father there, he was not afraid of the mountain peak being too high or the wind too violent. With his father there, he wasn't afraid of anything. The youth looked at his father's back and said earnestly, "Dad, Pingo will accompany you forever, we will never be apart." The last image in his mind collapsed. And his body collapsed along with it. The seven-colored lance howled and got closer and closer to Wang Lin. However, just at this moment, a voice came from the blue light that covered the hole in the sky. "Eh?" This voice appeared extremely abruptly, and not even the blue light could stop it. As this voice echoed into this world, the expression of the sovereign changed. His gaze that would never change even if heavens collapsed was filled with extreme fear. Even when Master Scarlet Soul appeared, he wasn't like this, but when he heard this one word, his mind almost collapsed and he subconsciously retreated. His face was filled with disbelief and fear so powerful, he couldn't even conceal it. "Ha ha, this king finally found you. Damn it, you actually ditched this king won't allow it." In the blue light, the madman was holding half a chicken leg in his hand and had a smug gaze. He walked out from the blue light. When the madman appeared, a powerful golden light spread from his body. The expression of the sovereign changed. Even though he had cultivated for countless years, his mind collapsed. Mars. The sovereign almost lost his wits as he looked at the madman, and his face instantly turned pale. After the madman spoke, he saw Wang Lin and the seven-colored lance. With a bang, the lance shrouded Wang Lin in a seven-colored glow. The madman was startled for a moment and let out a shocking roar. Simply ignoring the sovereign, golden light shrouded him and stepped toward the seven-colored light. "You can't die, you haven't played with this king yet. You promised to take me to a lot of places to play," the madman roared with madness in his eyes. He rushed into the seven-colored light and hugged Wang Lin's collapsing body. The seven-colored lance contained a destructive aura, and when the madman hugged Wang Lin, that destructive force erupted. What made the seven-colored lance so terrifying was that its power would erupt 7 times, and each time was stronger than the last. A series of violent rumbles echoed in a row, each time stronger than before. After 7 thunderous rumbles passed, the world trembled and the sky was torn open by force. Even the water below erupted, and this sealed world turned into fragments. The fragments scattered in all directions like a storm. This storm ripped open the world, ripped open space, and ripped open all existence. Then a black hole suddenly appeared. This black hole led to an unknown place, and it was pitch black. That madman had a complete celestial immortal body. During this collapse, his body had disintegrated several times. In the end, under the destructive force of the seven-colored lance, he held the unconscious Wang Lin, and the two were inhaled by the black hole. At this moment, as the sealed world collapsed, the sovereign's body became blurry. He stared at the black hole that had already dissipated and murmured to himself. He really went mad. Really went mad. It must be him who gave the immortal celestial body to Wang Lin. If he didn't go mad, he would never have done this. He was seriously injured, and given his character from the past, he would never save anyone. He really went mad. He doesn't recognize me anymore. The sovereign relaxed and his body dissipated. Just as he was about to dissipate, a person silently walked out beside him. This person was Old Ghost Sean. The moment he appeared, he pointed at the sovereign's blurry figure. The sovereign suddenly turned his head, but he was in a trance and was caught off guard. It was too late to dodge now, and he let out a painful groan as his figure disappeared without a trace. Old Ghost John looked at where the black hole was and pondered. This sealed world had been created by many third-step cultivators in the outer realm. Even with the aura leaking from the hole as guidance, it still took him a bit to get here. A step late. It's unfortunate about that celestial blood. As for that madman, could it really be that person in his memory? I didn't think he had really gone mad. They were devoured by that black hole. The aura that came from the black hole was clearly the cave wall layer. One step in the Celestial Immortal, one step here. Old Ghost John shook his head and left. Planet Suzaku gave off a gentle light. From afar, it looked peaceful. Only an invisible speck of dust collapsed and released a slight sound. That dust particle was the location of Wang Lin's calamity. After Old Ghost John disappeared, more and more ripples echoed around Planet Suzaku. Soon, ripples covered the whole sky and figures anxiously walked out. Master Hongshan, Master South Cloud, Qing Lin, Qing Shui, etc. They didn't appear at once but one after another. Powerful divine senses swept the area until they locked onto the collapsed dust particle. Everyone silently pondered. They couldn't feel Wang Lin's aura. Just like when Wang Lin went missing back then, it was as if he was dead. Master Hongshan's eyes were filled with sorrow. After a long time, he softly said, "He is not dead. The great battle is about to begin, the outer realm will spread this." Qing Lin let out a sigh as he looked at the collapsed dust particle. The image of Wang Lin from the past flashed before his eyes. Qing Shui looked up at the stars in the distance and his gaze became extremely cold. A killing essence aura spread out from his body and shrouded the area. "I'll replace him and station myself at the Cloud Seas battle station." Qing Shui closed his eyes and his face gradually changed. Eventually, he took Wang Lin's appearance and even his cold temperament became similar to Wang Lin's. He gave up on finding his daughter and his freedom. He chose to take Wang Lin's appearance and become a symbol at the battle station in the Cloud Sea. "Junior brother, I'll get revenge for you. As for everyone involved in this matter, if I have even the glimmer of a chance, I'll give it my all to get revenge for you." Qing Shui closed his eyes to hide his sorrow. Many people who had arrived here knew well that Wang Lin couldn't avoid this calamity. They knew the Outer Realm had planned for a long time to avoid their detection and launch his attack. It would be very difficult for Wang Lin to avoid it, and he was likely dead. As the silence continued, everyone gradually dispersed. However, the anger in their hearts burned brighter and brighter. Planet Suzaku in the distance still gave off a gentle light, as if it would stay like this forever. All the people Wang Lin was familiar with were still immersed in their own world, they still didn't know what had happened here. Ju Wutai was still sitting on the Suzaku statue, silently drinking wine. In Imperial City in the country of Zhao, that old house and yard were still there. The tomb remained lonely, only that weeping and grieving figure was gone. Only a few empty wine jugs sat on the ground, there was no longer any wine from the same family inside. Only the giant statue holding the heaven-splitting axe and looking at the sky remained. It seemed to become an eternal existence. Several days later, a cold-looking young man silently stood under the statue. He slowly knelt down and kowtowed as tears flowed down the corners of his eyes. "Teacher, 13 will announce that he is your disciple when I'm in the limelight and under everyone's gazes." Several days later, a beautiful woman came with teary eyes and a slightly old tiger. She gently stroked the statue as her tears flowed down her cheeks and fell on the ground. "Uncle. I'm Ju, are you? I'm little, are you, Several days later, a burly man laughed before the statue. He laughed and laughed until tears flowed down from his eyes. He held 2 jugs of wine as if he wanted to get drunk with the statue. After getting drunk, the burly man began to cry. "If I didn't guide you down the path of cultivation. If we didn't meet back then. If I had taken away the heaven-defying bead back then. If you were still a naive teenager back then." Several days later, a gorgeous woman stood before the statue. She stood there for a long, long time. She looked at the statue as sun rose and set. After several cycles, she silently left. 2 drops of tears fell as she turned, shattering when they fell on the ground. She was Mu Bingmai. Several days later, a woman wearing a pink, water-patterned skirt arrived on planet Suzaku looking exhausted. She looked at the statue and recalled the past. Lord doesn't know me, but I know Lord. Several days later, several months later. The passage of time seemed to be forgotten like the void. There was no beginning or end, only two broken bodies. This place was a dark void with no life or objects. The silence here seemed to have existed forever. In this void, there was a faint blood-colored light that formed a circle. Inside this circle, Wang Lin's body was collapsing on a wide scale. It was covered in scars. Beside him, the madman's eyes were closed, but his face was ashen. There were no injuries on his body, but there was seven-colored light between his eyebrows. The seven-colored lance couldn't hurt the madman's immortal body, but it could hurt his soul, which had become unprotected after the serious injury from the past. This blood circle of light was formed by the drop of golden blood that Wang Lin held in his hand. As the light gently surrounded them, Wang Lin struggled to open his eyes. He didn't know how long he had been asleep, but he knew that he would only be awake for a short period of time. Feeling bitter, Wang Lin saw the unconscious madman and his gaze became gentle. He let out a sigh and barely managed to raise his hand. Only after waving several times did he manage to open his storage space. 3 Dao fruits floated out and he inhaled. The 3 fruits turned into 3 rays of light and entered Wang Lin's mouth with their unimaginably chaotic Dao intent. Wang Lin's eyes revealed the strongest light at the end of his life. His left hand grabbed the madman and then his right index finger pointed toward the area between his own eyebrows. Dream Dao, using what's left of his power, he used the 3rd original spell he had made, Dream Dao. Using his own Dream Dao to dream of thousands of years ago. In that dream, he would complete his life and death, karma, and true and false essences. His right hand dropped and Wang Lin closed his eyes. Little brother, wake up. Alas, how are you so drunk? I'm going to clean up, please wake up. On the side of the road, in a humble restaurant, a waiter in green helplessly pushed a drunk young man on the table. This is really a scholar, so drunk after just 2 cups. The waiter pushed harder. Heaven is an inn for all living things. Time is the hundreds of passing travelers. And being born into a dream, such a joy, or joy of dream. Good poem, good poem. The young man had an intoxicated gaze as he looked at the waiter and giggled. Hee, let me tell you, I had dream. I dreamt I was an immortal. Then the young man fell onto the ground and began snoring. The early morning sunlight gently scattered over the earth. The sky was clear and the feather-like clouds were spread across the sky. As the sunlight hit the clouds at the dawn of the day, there was a faint, orange light. From afar, it looked like a dream-like world. Smoke and the sound of dogs barking came from the inn on the corner. These things didn't feel out of place, it was as if this was how everything should be. The few dogs raised by the shop were playing with each other and running around, shaking their tails. Shortly after, the sound of horseshoes hitting the ground came from the distance. In the distance, dust was being kicked up as several horses galloped by. Sitting on top of the horses were several burly men wearing robes. They all had serious expressions as they galloped by. As they approached, the dogs whimpered and avoided the road. The horses quickly passed by with the wind. Perhaps the sound of the horses was so loud that it caused the ground outside the inn to tremble, and even the inn itself seemed to tremble. This inn was very humble and seemed to have existed for a long time. As it trembled, it emitted sounds as if it couldn't withstand this trembling. Cries of shock came from the 2nd floor of the inn. Don't worry, don't worry. This old man's shop has been here for over 100 years, and this happens every time horses rush by. It won't collapse. An ancient voice echoed across the inn. In the corner of the hall sat a small old man wearing coarse clothes. He held a pipe in his hand and leisurely smoked it. Opposite him, the waiter from last night put a towel over his shoulder and brought a kettle of hot water to the guests in the rooms on the 2nd floor. At this moment, in the rightmost room on the 2nd floor, there was a young man still wearing his clothes lying on the bed. The entire room was filled with the smell of alcohol. As the horses passed by and the room trembled, the young man slowly opened his eyes. He placed his hand on his forehead and looked around in a daze. Alas, greed is wrong, greed is wrong. How did I drink so much wine? The young man looked 18 or 19 years old. He was slender and plain-looking, and he gave off the aura of a scholar. He put on a bitter smile and his head hurt as he stood up holding the side of his bed. He staggered to the table and poured himself a cup of cold tea. Only after drinking it did he feel slightly better. It looks like I have to be careful in the future about getting drunk. I lost consciousness last night. If I only lost my silver, that would be small, but if I lost my life, the young man sighed and drank a few more cups of cold tea. Just at this moment, a knocking sound came from the door and the voice of the waiter echoed. "Hot water, does guest want any?" The young man quickly got up. He seemed to have stood up too fast and became dizzy again. He barely managed to speak. "Come in." The door opened with a creak and the waiter walked in with the kettle. After filling the basin with hot water, he looked back at the young man and smiled. "I have been a waiter here for 3 days. I have never seen anyone get drunk from the rice wine here after only 2 cups. Last night, no matter how much I pushed you, you wouldn't wake up, and I had to bring you up here to rest. Little brother is not good with alcohol, so you need to practice. I heard that all the officials at the capital can drink 1,000 cups without falling." The young man's face turned slightly right and his eyes became filled with gratitude. He got up and clasped his hands. "Thank, brother, for your care. I don't know what went wrong either. The first cup felt fine, but once the second cup entered my stomach, I fell on the ground, drunk." The waiter grinned, and as he was leaving with the kettle, he had a playful smile. He looked at the young man and said, "You're coming here to test for an official position, right? When you were drunk last night, you said you had a dream where you became an immortal. Ha, what you said was very interesting. If you have time, come talk to me again, it was very fun." As they spoke, the waiter walked out with a gentle smile. The young man's face turned flushed and he shook his head bitterly. After the waiter left, the young man washed his face with hot water and washed away a lot of the drunkenness from last night. He opened the window and the cool wind came in along with the bright sunshine. This wind felt very good when it blew on his face. It made the young man let out a deep breath. The young man stood by the window and looked outside as he muttered to himself, "After getting drunk last night, I really had a dream. That dream was very strange, and I haven't forgotten any of it. That dream was very realistic, almost impossible to separate from reality. It actually started 3 years ago when fourth uncle arrived. I joined the Hanyu sect. It was interesting, but the dream didn't seem to finish and I only remember joining the Hanyu sect." Hanyu sect? How could such a sect exist? How can there be immortals? Scholars like me don't believe in the power of ghosts, it is mostly rumors to fool people. The young man shook his head and looked at the cup on the table. His childish heart showed as he formed the seal from his memory and pointed at the corp. Attraction spell. The young man smiled and pointed at the cup. That cup didn't move at all, it just calmly stayed there. The young man laughed and muttered, "These spells are very interesting." After playing around for a bit, the young man cleared his mind and tidied up his things. His clothes, money, dried food, pen, ink, and books were all there. Then he carefully cleaned the room and waited for the smell of wine to dissipate before he changed into clean clothes. Then he put the bamboo backpack on his back and walked out of the room. He had been very smart ever since he was young, but his personality was very simple. He grew up in a mountain village, and this was his first time leaving home. The kind gaze of his parents followed him as he left the mountain village. He was like a baby bird that was going to spread his wings. This room had become dirty and smelled of alcohol due to him. He'd rather clean it up himself than let the waiter who had carried him up here do it. He simply ate some food on the first floor and paid his bills. Then he smiled at the waiter before he left, facing the sun. The gentle light fell on his body and filled the young man with sunshine as well. He gave off a very comfortable feeling, and people couldn't help but feel affection toward him. His clean clothes and neat attire were filled with vitality. Walking along the official road, he looked ahead, and he could faintly see the faraway capital of the country of Zhao. "Wang Lin, you can definitely do it. When I get a title, I'll bring my parents out from the mountain village, serve them until they grow old, and let them enjoy happiness. The young man took a deep breath and walked forward. The spring breeze blew by and brought the fragrance of flowers toward him. Wang Lin's clothes fluttered in the wind as he gradually walked further and further from the inn. The sound of the dogs barking was scattered by the wind and sent into some unknown place. The scattered sound slowly became fainter. A young man at 18 or 19 would often not know what tiredness was. As Wang Lin walked down the official road, his eyes were nimble. From time to time, he would stop and look at the surrounding mountain and forest as if it was very comfortable. The daylight passed by quickly. As Wang Lin leisurely walked down the road, the trees were no longer dense and soon a river revealed itself. The sound of the river rushing came with the wind. In Zhao, there were several official roads that traveled with the waterways. Just like how on the left side of Wang Lin were mountains, and not far on his right was a river. There were several boats flowing down the river. The horizon gradually grew dark and dark clouds began to gather. Thunder rumbled in the distance and lightning moved within the dark clouds. They looked like silver snakes. The sky was clear during the day, but before night even arrived, clouds filled the sky and became unpredictable. The green mountains in the distance became dark due to the dark clouds. Although the clouds were dark, they couldn't completely cover the mountains. From afar, the mountain and the clouds seemed to be battling. The mountain wanted to pierce the clouds, but the clouds wanted to devour the mountain. It was like a battle of a dragon and a tiger. At this moment, the sound of thunder echoed and rain started to fall. Wang Lin quickly ran to a tree and took out a large umbrella from his bamboo backpack. This umbrella was skillfully made by his father and could be folded. Once opened, it could not only cover his bamboo backpack, but also his body under the umbrella. Holding the umbrella in his right hand, Wang Lin looked at the mountain in the distance that the dark clouds couldn't cover. He looked at the rain as it fell to the earth, fell on the leaves, fell on the surface of the river, creating ripples, and fell on the surface of the boats. The old saying goes, the black clouds are like black ink that can cover the mountains, the white rain jumps like beads into the boat. It turned out to be true. Wang Lin looked at all of this and laughed. Did a scholar like you become dumb? You see rain fall on my boat and you can still laugh. It really is infuriating. A crisp voice came from the boat close to the shore of the river. At the bow of the boat stood a pretty girl holding an umbrella. The young girl had a gloomy face as she stared at Wang Lin and her jade-like hand pointed toward him. Wang Lin was startled and his laughter stopped. He scratched his head. This video will end here.